MLB free agency is an absolute joke. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Philly Setso videocast. Today we're going to be talking about MLB free agency and how they can improve it. Now, guys, before we get into this video, please subscribe if you have not yet. Please turn the notification bell. Please like this video, comment on this video, share this video, and let's get into this. Now, we all know what an absolute joke and disaster Major League Baseball free agency is. It's just so poorly run. The rules and the regulations are just an absolute joke. If you're not familiar, in order for you to be eligible to be a free agent, you have to have 6 full years in Major League Baseball service time to be eligible for free agency. And in other sports, that timeline is actually shorter. In other sports, you go around, look at the NBA, look at the NFL, their free agency is so much more exciting because the free agents sign so much quicker because they have periods of time to sign. They have periods, and that's why they sign so much quicker. In MLB, they drag it out for months on end. And here's another issue, as I keep going back to once again. The problem is, it's 6 years, it's too much. I just read an article, I did some research before coming on this video. The average age of a free agent is around 32, 33. That's around the average age, and we all know that that's when a player starts to get out of his prime and starts to decline. If you have MLB, if you have free agents going into the free agency, with the ages around 28, 29, then that allows more time. That's around their prime. That allows that it's around their prime, and that's all the more reason why teams will be more inclined to throw money at these people rather than have them enter free agency around, age 32, age 33. That is when they're starting to decline. Why would, teams dump all this money into free agents that are around that age? It just doesn't make any sense. So you had these guys entering free agency, later in their careers. And once again, it's not like they're 38, but they're around 33, 32, 33. That's older. That is older. If you have them enter around, of course, you had the rare current, situation where Bryce Harper and Manny Machado entered the market around the age 26, and that was pretty rare though. That doesn't happen too often. It's just because they came up at age 19 and age 20. That's why they entered so quickly, because they are able to just shoot right to free agency. But it's not the same story for a lot of these guys. So once again, if MLB fixes this and makes the service time eligible to free agents shorter to maybe around 4 or 5 years, then you would see the process speed up. Also, they should have a deadline. They should have a deadline. Say, hey, listen, you can't sign past this point. You got to make it quicker. Let's make this quicker. That's what some of the other sports do. It's ridiculous how long this waiting period is where these guys can just drag it out as long as they want to. It's just an absolute joke. You want to go back and look at 2018, 2019 with Bryce Harper and Manny Machado. Even them. Look at them. They were 2 26-year-old superstars on the free agent market. You saw Manny Machado drag it out until, I believe it was February 19th or something. He signed with the San Diego Padres. So much drama in that offseason. All this back and forth, all this talking. Then you have Bryce Harper sign about a week and a half after Manny Machado signed with my Phillies. So, once again, that was a brutal, because I followed that process so intently. I followed that so much. I was so deep into that. And you see some other free agents around other sports like the NBA. As I talked about NBA and the NFL, they sign so much quicker. I'm not saying they're going to sign a day, but they sign so much quicker. It doesn't drag on from November to March. It doesn't, because the other sports don't really allow that. And it's a quicker period of time. You sign this you sign the contract by this time. Bam, done. And MLB, take your time, because people lose interest. This is hurting the game. This is a video that I've wanted to make for a while now. Once again, they need to shorten the service time to be eligible for free agency. They need to shorten that time. Because honestly, once again, these guys are entering free agency later in their careers, when they're past their prime already, 32, 33. If you're going to go look at Albert Pujols, the guy who signed a monstrous contract with the Los Angeles Angels in the 2011-2012 offseason. Unfortunately, the Angels has got him too late. He had his best days of his career, and he was with the St. Louis Cardinals. Has not been that same player since going over to the Los Angeles Angels, because the Angels signed him too late. It's too late in his career. And I understand that. Hey, well, that's going to happen. Once again, these guys are just too old. They're in the free agency way too old. Once again, I'm not saying that they're going to 38, 39, but they're 32, 33. That's not really the prime of your career anymore. The brightest days of your career are most likely over. So they definitely need to shorten that. And people lose interest. Baseball's already having a problem getting people interested in the game because they've turned their back on, having fun with the game. I understand you don't want to flip a bat every single time. I understand that, but I think an occasional bat flip is good. How about swinging 3-0 when your team's up like a jajillion runs? Apparently that's considered wrong. Fernando Tatis Jr. had to apologize for that. That is totally wrong. That is totally wrong. He shouldn't be apologizing. He's doing his job. So let me just be clear. So he has to apologize for doing his job. What kind of sense does that make? What kind of sense does that make, ladies and gentlemen? So he has to apologize for doing his own job. How much sense does that make? How much sense does that make? So, and once again, there is kind of a dark side to this a little bit. There is, a bit of a challenge here for Major League Baseball with doing this because the relationship between the owners and, the Players Association with Tony Clark and Major League Baseball, front office executives like, the commissioner's office with Rob Manfred, they're in hot water right now. They are not in a very good situation. They don't have the best relationship. So, in order to change these rules for free agency, it would require the union to comply, and they would have to come to an agreement. And we all know how much they struggle with coming to agreements, the simplest agreements, right? And I was concerned because I heard they just came up with health protocols for this spring training and the regular season. Thank God they were able to agree on that, right? The news just broke about that yesterday. I was concerned because they can't agree on the simplest, topics. I mean, they argue about everything. It's just ridiculous. So this would be a challenge for Major League Baseball. The union would have to comply with this, but I could see the union going for this because you know what? If they shorten the MLB service time eligible to be a free agent, it would actually benefit the player because they can get more money. They would sign quicker. It'd be better for the game. So I could see them passing this. I mean, this could work. Shorten the service time to be eligible for free agency. And the players union, as I said, would most likely be on board. The players would get more money because they'd be younger entering the market. And once again, the owners probably wouldn't be on board with this. There's no way they would. Because you know why? Because they lose more service time. They have to spend more money. So there are some gray areas to this. It's not just, let's just mandate this rule. They can't do that. They need to get approval from the MLB Players Union. But once again, I could see the MLB Players Union being on board with this. I could totally see it. Now, the deadline, if they were to implement a deadline, the Players Union would not be on board. And let me just explain. Well, first of all, they'd make the argument and say, hey, we don't have a deadline and we get the best deal available for our player. We just can't. The agents wouldn't like that, but the agents don't really have any say in this. They're kind of, in some way like the owners here a little bit, right? I mean, they're kind of siding with the, players, the owners. They're not really on the commissioner's side of this. They're more on the players and the owner's side. More on the players because they represent the player. They represent the player because they're kind of, a little bit with the owners too because they have to negotiate with the owners. They're not really, negotiating with Major League Baseball, commissioner's office without Manfred. They're negotiating with the owners, but they're more siding with the players because they represent the players, right? Because an agent represents a player. You got to look at some of the best agents around Major League Baseball, Dan Lozano, Scott Boras, and you see, Trevor Bauer's agent, Rachel Lupa. So, you see some of the best agents around baseball. They're probably not going to be on board with this because guys like Scott Boras, guys like, Dan Lozano, they're going to argue. They're going to argue that this does not allow, their client to get the most money possible because they're not getting the full amount of time to get this, get the biggest contract. That's what they're going to argue. Say, hey, if you put a deadline, we can't get the fullest. We can't wait out to the fullest time. We can't get the biggest deal possible because we have a deadline. So that'd be more difficult, especially the union. The union would definitely be against that. But the owners, I don't know about that either because that would require a waiting time. That would require a waiting time. Say, hey, we have to get this done by this time. We have to get this done by this time. This would be a very, very difficult and confusing situation for them. And once again, going back to the players, that would not, they would counter back with and say, hey, we can't get the biggest deal possible because you're putting a deadline. So I think the more realistic thing is they could do is say, hey, shorten the service time, to be eligible for free agency, shorten it about, maybe 1 or 2 years, maybe make it 4 or 5 years eligible, service time to be a free agent. I think that could work. Once again, the owners probably would, there's no way. The owners would not be on board with that. The MLB Players Union and Major League Baseball, they would definitely be on board with it because once again, it would give the players much more money because they'd be younger heading into free agency, so that would give them more prime years, more years of being productive for a team. But with the owners, they'd be very, very unhappy because they'd be losing service time on these guys. It would put more pressure on them to, go out and sign more free agents, make more trades. So it would definitely impact the game either way. This is, things the MLB, Major League Baseball can do to help improve this mess because it's a mess how long these guys can drag it out. You just saw Trevor Bauer sign last week. I mean, it's February, and you saw J.H. Muto wait it out until the end of January. So that these, big free agents, that just signed, They waited out way too long. When this process, ladies and gentlemen, starts in November, and they waited out this long. They waited out this long this time. It's an absolute joke. It's killing the game. It's killing the game. They can't keep letting this go on like this. They can't keep letting this go on like this. They need to put a deadline on the free agency, or once again, that might not work. That might not work. They need to at least propose it. And they definitely need to propose. I mean, once again, I don't really know how I feel about this because honestly, as a fan of the Phillies and a fan of Major League Baseball, I do think that would be more difficult if you had less years of control on your player. Say, hey, well, guess what? We only have this guy for 4 years. Once he comes up in the big leagues, and of course, the owners do a little thing where they play these little games like the Cubs did with Chris Bryant and the Blue Jays did with Marcus Stroman, where they keep him in AAA until it doesn't count as a full year of service time. Then they will call him up, and so he can get an extra year of service time. So they just kind of mess with the system a little bit just to get an extra year of service time. You're going to see that more and more and more, and that could make the relationship with Major League Baseball and the owners and the players union more terrible than it already is. So I think they should wait a little bit. I mean, this is something, if there are changes made to MLB free agency, I don't see it happening soon due to the poor relationship going on right now with the owners, the players, the commissioner's office with Don Manfred. It's bad right now. It's bad, especially, with the CBA. They need to see what's going to happen with that, with, potential lockout. Hopefully that does not happen. We talked about that with Baseball Guy Sean when he came on here with the potential lockout. Hopefully that does not happen. But if it does, I mean, I think they should wait to propose this idea. But once again, I haven't heard anything about it. I'm just talking about what they should do. Because honestly, this is killing the game. People are going to be like, hey, well, what's going on with the NBA and NFL free agency? Wow, that was a quick process. You saw these, big names, like these big names signed quickly. That was an exciting week. I mean, what an exciting week here. All these names coming off the board. MLB free agency. We'll just wait months on end. Months and months and months of waiting. Wow. I wonder what's going on with the MLB free agency. Well, 3 months have passed by. We still have not seen JT Muto sign. We still haven't seen Trevor Bauer sign yet. Wow, I mean, what's going on here? But you see in other sports where, guys sign quick as anything. In a matter of like a week, they sign. It's pathetic that Major League Baseball is one of the only sports that has this terrible free agency. And this is part of the problem. People are not interested. They're like, NFL free agency, NBA free agency. Wow, that's so exciting and quick. Let's go look at MLB free agency. Oh my goodness gracious, it's so long. I'm not interested. You know what? I'm not interested. Maybe I'll listen for the first week. Why are these guys not signing? I'm tuning it out. I'm done. I don't even want to listen to it. This is the problem. This is the problem. This is why the younger generation has turned away from baseball, because baseball has not kept up with the younger generation, like the other sports. They haven't, made it more quick, with the free agency process. And also they've kind of ignored, especially more of the, exciting motion in the game. Once again, I'm not saying you flip a bat every single time, but these silly rules where you shouldn't swing 3-0 if your team's up by a certain amount of runs. It's just silly. I mean, they need to do away with some of these rules. It's called an unwritten rule. It's one thing if it was a written rule, it's unwritten. It's unwritten. So I understand some of the older, old school folks have a problem with that, but this needs to change. MLB free agency is an absolute disaster. It's an absolute joke. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't not yet. Please turn on the notification bell. Please like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Check out the social media link in the description section at Phillies Hot Serve Instagram, TikTok, Instagram, card text 267-225-3392. Email me, phillieshotserve@gmail.com. I'm going to be doing a collab this week with Philly Sports Podcast. I'm not sure when that's going to be. Maybe tonight. I'm not really too sure. But hang in there, guys. I'll see you on Sunday for the weekly update. Unless something happens with the Phillies. If not, I'll see you on Sunday. I am Luke, and I'll talk to y'all later. I'll see you again.